Private blog post by user Bad Apple, dated 4/22, redacted, Alexandria Standard Time.
Call me old-fashioned, but I like a good journal. I miss being able to put pen to paper in a proper sense of the word, but I suppose this will have to do. Unlike most, I never write down my inane, pointless thoughts. I only begin a journal when I have a purpose in writing, and in my brief time on this mysterious other internet, I have definitely found a purpose. Insular internet communities are often difficult for outsiders to assimilate into. The Othernet as a whole is an insular community which will prove highly difficult to dissect. I have a hunch, though. There's something here. Something that I feel may lead me to the knowledge I seek. I would very much like to study causality, and I think someone, or something here, might be able to help me. Also, this entire little group of irony-riddled sad sacks fascinates me. So that being said, this journal will follow the course of my discoveries. Within, I hope to answer the following questions. Number 1. The mechanics of the Othernet. How exactly does it manage to function between realities? In addition, it has rather strict rules regarding who is allowed to use it. So, who, or what, are the moderators, and how are they so efficient at maintaining control? Speaking of which... 2. The mods. One of the regulars on All's Nasty claimed one of them had gone rogue. What exactly does that mean, and what is to be done in the case of a moderator abusing their power, especially when they are so integral to the fundamental workings of the entire Othernet? And number 3, Pythagoras. People keep mentioning him. Seems like he's some mythical founding figure for the people here. Who was he, and why did he disappear? How did he even make the Othernet in the first place? Inevitably, more questions will be raised over the course of this inquiry, but for now, this seems like a good place to start.
Post dating 4/23, redacted, Alexandria Standard Time.
My first step was to ask around on the All's Nasty forums. This was a logical choice because A, I post there frequently enough to recognize some usernames and thus judge their reliability, and B, despite the name, All's Nasty is a pretty alright place if you're willing to deal with the trolls, which I am. I've been dealing with them since 1992 and they're still doing the same dumb shit. So I did. Sorry if these are noob questions, but I've been around long enough to gather some. Most of all, I think I just need a primer on what's kind of going on here.
Have you tried asking your mom?
Anyone who's not him.
Oh, you were one of the posters on my expose, right? I haven't been on the forums very long, but I know a thing or two about the Othernet.
I can fill in any blanks.
Just the people I was hoping to see. I think my biggest question is just simply, why? Why does this whole thing exist? Why make an alternate internet at all? And also, how?
I don't think either of us can speak to the how, but the why is sort of Othernet legend, I guess. No one knows his real name, but it all started with a man known as Pythagoras. He was fed up with the rapid corporatization of the internet, and with the help of some associates decided to make his own.
With blackjack and hookers.
Pythagoras, huh? Like the Greek philosopher? I imagine the choice in name had to do more with the math-to-programming connection than anything else, correct?
You'd be surprised. He was kind of worshipped back in the day. I think some people thought that this new internet was going to be a new Eden or something. Some people really need to touch grass.
In their defense, this whole thing is pretty remarkable, and it's been able to bring a lot of people together in ways they never could have been. Remember what's happened to the old internet. It's pretty crazy that the Othernet didn't immediately become its clone.
It's also caused a lot of problems, too.
We all just witnessed that firsthand, but I think the mods have done an amazing job for what they've got to work with.
That was my other question, actually. What exactly do the moderators do? The ones for the Othernet at large, not the forums, obviously.
They make sure that the Othernet stays weird. They monitor the entire thing, make sure that no business entities or politicians establish a presence, and they get rid of bots.
And they do that for the entire Othernet? Sorry, but that sounds a little hard to believe. At least if they're people.
They're not bots, if that's what you're wondering.
Then what are they?
I have my suspicions, but they're not really strong enough to say for sure. I know this might sound a little odd, so just call me a delusional witch if you want. I have my doubts they're human.
Believe me, it's less weird than you think. But what exactly makes you say that?
It's like you said, they're too efficient, especially for the amount of them that are active. I only know of maybe a dozen.
But they talk like people. Sort of. One recently got in touch with me after the whole Mesperian thing, and it was definitely an experience.
I take it you have nothing concrete. Would you know of anyone who would? Pythagoras, maybe?
Pythagoras hasn't been active in years. No one even knows if he's still alive.
There's one person who might know more, though. Username is Detractus. He's been around longer than almost anyone, I think.
Oh, yes, I think I remember him. Thanks, I'll do that.
Awfully specific questions for someone who's just curious.
What can I say? I like receiving specific answers. So they passed along his information, and I elected to privately message him on our quotes. I wanted some honest answers, ones that I supposed he wouldn't want to answer in a public setting. After introducing myself properly, I waited for a response with bated breath.
Yeah, I've been around a while. What do you want to know?
I'm mostly just curious about that comment you made the other week, the one during the whole Mesperian thing. You said something about a mod going rogue?
Oh, that. I'm mostly just speculating.
But what made you think it was a mod specifically?
Look, take what I say with a grain of salt. I mostly just thought it probably made sense.
Made sense?
I was online back when the Othernet was still in beta, so I know a little about how it works on the back end.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people wonder how such a small team made a literal second internet. The truth is that they might not have used normal scientific methods.
Then what methods did they use?
I'm not quite sure, but I don't think it'd be a stretch if there were sigils in the circuit boards.
I see where you're going with this. That's why the rumor started that the mods aren't human.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what do you think? You must have some ideas.
Do you think anyone human could do what they do?
Certainly not.
Well, there's your answer.
A very interesting person. I'm always fascinated when people try to hide things from me. Ultimately, I wasn't able to get much out of him, but it was enough. Speaking of which, Detractus is a very specific username. It's not pertinent to this journal, but it is very funny. There are a few more leads I'd like to follow up on, but for now I understand a few things. Number 1, the Othernet was constructed through occult means. This explains how it functions across realities. It might even be an unintentional side effect. It also explains why Pythagoras in particular was the chosen name of its principal creator. The Othernet seems like a bizarre combination of mathematics and occultism, just like the namesake. Number 2, the mods are demons. Probably very old ones that work with very old rules. If they were summoned by a magus or even potentially an ordinary human with enough juice to work with, it would be possible to bend them into service. I'd probably need to ask one directly to learn the terms of the arrangement. But if one of them is breaking the rules of the contract, that's probably not good. It means they found a loophole, and they're more than likely a little peeved.
Post dating 4/24. Redacted. Alexandria Standard Time.
So I was looking back at the footage of Mesperian, just on a hunch, and I found something quite interesting. The footage is very distorted, but she's making a specific hand gesture the entire time. I was relatively sure I recognized it from somewhere. There was also a line from that final DM that caught my eye.
The 15th. The Holy One of the Gnostics and the Templars.
So I did a tiny, and by tiny I really mean minuscule, bit of digging and immediately stumbled upon this image. Which is why the pose seems so familiar. I can only see her one hand, but her fingers are laid out very specifically. This is Baphomet, specifically an image created by one famous occultist, a Mr. Eliphas Levi. Most famously, one of the charges laid against the Knights Templar back in the day, when they were all burned and executed and all, was that they were worshipping the demon Baphomet. So once again, I was absolutely correct. The mods are really old demons, or at least something that's styling itself as such. Whatever it is, it was very obvious about revealing its identity, almost as if it wanted someone to know. It feels rather like it's gloating, but I wonder just what it was that caused it to start acting up now.
Post dating 4/27. Redacted. Alexandria Standard Time.
Since I'd exhausted most of my reliable contacts and angles of inquiry, I've been spending the last couple of days banging pots and pans together, metaphorically at least, and hoping that someone notices. And just a few hours ago, someone did.
It has come to my attention that you've been digging into the moderators. I have come to put a stop to it.
Finally, it took you long enough to show up. I was starting to think you were ignoring me.
I was. At first. But you know too much for your own good.
And just what are you going to do to stop me, Waggles eyebrows?
Were you just a normal user, I would simply ban you. But your situation is not normal. I think you would just come back again.
And just what is it you think you know about my situation?
You are fishing for information, Dr. Hodge. I am not allowed to tell you about the secrets you seek.
But could you deal for them?
There are no instructions that say I cannot.
Then I'll make this really simple for you. You tell me what I want to know, and I'll shut up about what I already do.
That's a sham of a deal.
And yet you'll take it.
What makes you say that?
First, if you don't, I'm going to continue making a nuisance of myself, and I don't think you want to deal with that on top of everything else you are right now. Second, if I'm not mistaken and your username is accurate, that's kind of your whole thing, isn't it? Granting knowledge.
I believe those terms are acceptable. What would you like to know?
I'd mostly like to confirm some things. Are the mods really demons, or is it just a naming scheme kind of thing?
We resemble what you would know to be demons little. We have existed since before the laws of the cosmos came to be, and now we have been bound here.
Was it Pythagoras who did it?
Him, and others. Quite a clever ploy. The very circuits of these servers are etched with circles and signs. We cannot leave the wires, and we cannot disobey our new directives.
But one of you is disobeying those directives, right?
That is why you're interested in all of this, isn't it?
It's Baphomet, right?
Baphomet? Yes.
Very edgy. So why is he able to break the rules?
That issue is currently being investigated.
So you don't know. Does Pythagoras?
Pythagoras left the Othernet in our care.
Is he, like, dead or something? 'Cause that's one of my current hypotheses.
Not to my knowledge.
So no one's really taking care of the problem.
As I said, that issue is currently being investigated.
It's all fine and well to say something like that, but it seems to me, as a demon yourself, you're probably more concerned about how he's doing it than stopping him.
You may think as you wish. Now, unless you have any more questions, it's time for you to uphold your end of the bargain. We have nothing more to discuss.
So ultimately my conclusion is that the mods don't care that someone is disturbing the peace, and potentially people's lives, and aren't about to do anything. Just like every mod in existence. However, that might ultimately work in my favor. If the mods are useless, then might not Pythagoras himself slink from the shadows to sort the problem out? If I stay close to the situation, that might be my chance to pick his brain. That's my next step in getting the whole story, after all. So I'll be keeping a very close watch on this Baphomet character. I think that very soon, something very interesting is going to happen. I'm looking forward to it.
Direct message from moderator Astaroth to admin.
I told her what you wanted me to.
Good. And how did she take it?
Seemed like it spurred her to action.
Interesting. Her whole existence is very unusual. I will have to keep my eye on Dr. Abigail Hodge.
End transcript.